always been there. Just took me a minute to find it. Colonel Edward Thomas Ryan of Albany, New York, has died. These are the first words from the deceased 85-year-old's obituary from 3 weeks ago. Colonel was a decorated Vietnam veteran and firefighter, a local chef, and a radio station founder and owner. An amazing guy, I would have to say. But all of his life, Colonel kept a secret he felt was so shameful and dark, and one that he kept so well hidden from the public eye that he didn't reveal it until he was on his deathbed. What made Colonel Ryan's story so profound were his final words that he wanted to be included in his obituary. Quote, "I was gay all of my life, through grade school, through high school, through college, through life. I was in a loving and caring relationship with Paul Cavagnaro of North Greenbush. He was the love of my life. We had 25 great years together." Paul died in 1994 from a medical procedure gone wrong. "I'll be buried next to Paul," he says. Then he continues, "I'm sorry for not having the courage to come out as gay. I was afraid of being ostracized by family and friends and coworkers. I saw how people like me were treated, and I just couldn't do it." I want you to think about that for a moment. Here we have a war hero and firefighter who is the epitome of bravery and courage. And yet what Colonel Ryan feared more than death in a fire or on a battlefield was that his secret would be made known. The shame of coming out. It's tragic that he was willing to give up his life for a country he believed wouldn't accept his sacrifice, his service, unless he hid significant parts of his life. A sacrifice in itself. Now, I speculate Colonel must have felt the weight of this sacrifice when he ended his acknowledgement with these words: "Now that my secret is made known, I'll forever rest in peace." Shame can keep one isolated in the closet of despair for years, if not a lifetime. It can also kill. But have you ever felt the need to hide a part of who you are because you feared it wouldn't be accepted? That you wouldn't be accepted. Now, Unitarians aren't complete strangers to being alienated for who we are. Some believe that because we embrace religious pluralism and that we openly question dogma and orthodoxy, that we're all hellbound, or that we are devil worshipers or some other nonsense. I'm sure many of you have heard variations of the following. What? You don't have a cross in your sanctuary? No. How dare you welcome gays and trans, Buddhists, Christians, and worst of all, atheists? What do you mean your assistant minister is gay, openly gay, or even openly black for that matter? We've heard it all, right? We have learned not to let these voices impede our integrity, our authenticity, or our determination. So the next time someone complains about Pride Month, tell them it's about celebrating diversity, resisting bigotry, and reclaiming identity. Tell them it's about community. Yeah. Now, I deeply resonate with the Colonel's struggle. I, too, have been gay all of my life. And it was only a couple years ago that I publicly came out right on this chancel. Yeah. Now, as difficult as it was for me to come out, I can only imagine what my genderqueer, gender nonconforming, and transgender siblings must go through. Now, I'll be very vulnerable with you in sharing what I'm about to share with you, but in preparation of my message today, I thought about spending a day in a dress and heels to see what it was really like to walk in their trans shoes. Now, technically, as I would walk in these shoes through our community, it would have been more of an expression of drag. You see, to fully experience trans shoes would require me to deeply feel my getup as an expression of my true self, my authentic gender. And this is what connects the Q plus family, trans and gender nonconforming individuals with drag queens and kings and gay people. A shared lived experience that does not conform to society's norms for gender roles. So by wearing a dress and high heels, I knew I was about to see firsthand how society reacts to someone who doesn't fit traditional gender norms. At first, it seemed like a great idea, but quickly became challenging when it came to the actual execution. And I'm not talking about finding a men's size 12 heels. Oh, I have the hookup and connections for that. No, I was having an internal conflict. I envisioned the stares, the giggles, the occasional slur sent my way, or worse, a beer can, a bottle, a brick. What if somebody approached me? I wondered, would I say, oh, it's just a social experiment? But that's not what an ally would or should say, right? Needless to say, I was an emotional basket case just from thinking about it, folks. Then I came to the conclusion I just couldn't do it. And besides that, I knew that at any given time, I could step out of the role, explain it away, put my old shoes back on, and return to my life as a cisgender man. Yet, many transgender, non-binary, genderqueer people face these obstacles every single day. And despite the risks, the rejection, the discrimination, and even the violence, many choose to live authentically, knowing that the alternative, a life hiding, a life suppressed, a life untrue to oneself, is far, far worse. Now, I realize bravery takes on many forms. For some of us, it's coming out and living openly. For others, it's the quiet strength of resistance to conformity, but staying true to oneself in a world that refuses to accept us. Now, my little thought experiment this week helped me to realize that my transgender siblings navigate a world that at every turn challenges their very existence. So I'll go on record in declaring that members, and I believe members and allies of the Q plus community, including our transgender siblings, are some of the most courageous people I know, whether they're out or not. Last year, the Human Rights Campaign declared a national state of emergency for Q plus Americans due to the increasing anti-Q plus legislation and hate crimes. Since then, the voices of opposition have only grown louder. This relentless legislative assault sends a clear message to Q plus communities that our visibility, our right to be seen, our voices, right to be heard, our vision, right to dream, is unwanted. There's been a rise in fatal violence against our Q plus community, and even more so with our transgender siblings, with many victims being Black and Latino. Since 2013, over 300 murders have been tracked, likely undercounted due to misgendering by police and media. In Oklahoma, next Benedict, a young gender non-conforming individual, tragically lost their life earlier this year. Next had been subjected to continuous bullying and a beating just days before their death. In many municipalities across the nation, including in Oklahoma, there's newly enacted laws and restrictions of Q plus identities in education, public access, sporting, and there's even a concerted effort to ban drag shows in public spaces. Amidst this backdrop of rising hostility, bans, and bullying, the Emmy Award-winning show, HBO show, We're Here, filmed 3 episodes of their current season in Tulsa and in Bartlesville. The reality series features drag queens Sasha Velour, Priyanka, Jada Essence Hall, and Latrice Royale as they travel across small-town America, spreading love and acceptance through drag performances. Now, if you haven't seen the show, I highly recommend that you do. It's on both HBO and now on Hulu. Now, many Tulsans are featured in the show, including yours truly. So, I'm one of the members of the Affirming Ministers Alliance that sat down for a conversation with the drag queens. And I was there during the taping of a drag show at the Parish Church of St. Jerome. Now, one of several Oklahomans highlighted in the show is Jess. Jess, formerly Troy, was married with 2 children, who, after suppressing her identity her whole entire life, now is in the early stages of transitioning. I spoke with Jess about this message and invited her to church today. Jess talked about the whirlwind that has been her life since the show aired. She spoke of the various emails and calls that she has received from individuals throughout the country who are inspired by her story. The show reveals the difficult journey Jess has had with accepting who she is, and at times grappling with overwhelming feelings of being an imposter or believing that she had been cursed by God for being the way that she is. She spoke about the fear. Now, her mentor and drag mother in the show, Sasha Velour, helps her to begin to see herself with acceptance. It is Sasha that encourages Jess to perform in drag as an act of self-expression and a step to discovering her true identity. And even Jess' wife, Shelley, believes that performing drag and being accepted as a woman for the first time would be a cathartic and healing moment for her. Drag queen Priyanka said, drag is the one art experience that both empowers and boosts confidence. She went on to say, drag is a space we create to nurture our queerness. And I would like to add that drag is the space, is a sacred space where we get to tell our own stories. So it doesn't matter what laws are on the books, folks. Drag isn't going anywhere. I can promise you that. No one will stop the drag queens and kings from doing what they do. Think about someone in your life who might be struggling with their own hidden truths. How can you offer them the acceptance and support they need to live openly? Jess expressed that she was honored by my invitation today, but she couldn't make it. Because due to her transition, Jess not only lost her best friend, she also lost her job. And as a result, Jess had to leave Oklahoma for New York to find work. Because those who, when she applied here, those who were initially interested in her resume, when they saw that she was trans, quickly rescinded their interest and offer. But all hasn't been lost. Her decision to come out also encouraged one of her children to come out as gay. And the family has now adopted yet another young person who was kicked out of their home because they dared to acknowledge their truth. The show beautifully documents Jess' transformation, both externally and internally. And members of Jess's family have noticed how more open and expressive she has become since her transition. Shows like HBO's We're Here, featuring stories of transgender people like Jess, highlight the crucial importance of representation and the power of sharing our stories. These stories remind us of the painful reality of the homophobia, the transphobia, hatred, and humiliation that Q+ communities must face. So I understand, I get it, that for some of you, these are truly some difficult times, scary times in which we're living. But know this, we are not without hope. Mandela said, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Despite our challenges, our strength and resilience shine through. Over the past year, Q+ people and their allies showed up at the school board meetings, stood against Moms for Liberty, secured vetoes of anti-Q+ bills in the governor's offices, and defeated anti-Q politicians at the ballot box. Yes. And we will continue to fight for a world where everyone can live openly and authentically without fear of persecution or violence. So today, I want to say to anyone, we want to say, I'm going to include you too, we want to say to anyone who would dare deny us our humanity, try to silence us, erase us, or harm us, listen up. We have something to say to you. Your hatred of us won't erase our pride. We reject your narrow definitions of gender. Our equality is non-negotiable. We will not be silent. We will not be invisible. Our diversity is our strength. Our love is real and unshakable. We exist, we resist, and we persist. We are here, we are proud, and we won't back down. Yes. 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 Thank you. As people of faith and conscience, we are called to affirm the dignity and worth of all people. In fact, church should be the one place where all people should feel safe, because the church is supposed to embody the core principles of love, acceptance, and compassion that are fundamental to the teachings of Jesus and just about every other religious tradition. Therefore, All Souls stands proudly with the trans community. If you're not transgender, I encourage you to listen to the stories, educate yourself about the challenges, and advocate for transgender rights. Standing with also means using names, correct names and pronouns, and challenging discrimination and prejudice in all areas of your life. That is your workplace, community, and even in your family. That means correcting your Uncle Bob and Sister Sue. Some of us may not be able to walk in the shoes of our trans and non-binary, non-gender conforming siblings, but we can walk alongside them in our own shoes and together create a world where everyone is free to live and love without fear. Just as Colonel Ryan found the courage to share his truth at the end of his life, consider what steps you can take today to embrace and celebrate your authentic self. In the comments to the Colonel's story, someone remarked that when we raise the pride flag this year, we should light 2 special candles. And that is what I'm now going to do. I light a candle for you, Colonel Ryan, and one for Paul, the love of your life. I also light a candle for all those who are still in the closet, afraid of rejection and pain, who may still be trying to come to terms with their identity and sexuality. Know this, you are not alone. Know that there are supportive communities of Q+ folks and allies that are ready to embrace you. And we light a candle for Next Benedict, whose life was tragically cut short by bigotry and hatred. And finally, we light a candle for Jess and for all trans and gender non-conforming individuals as they face hostility, discrimination, and an uncertain future, but who are undeterred in their commitment to live out their truth. In your courage and resilience, we find inspiration to live more authentically, to love more deeply, and work for a world where all are free to be truly who they are. So let's stand together and celebrate our unyielding spirit this day and all days. May it be so.